Jess, we're back. Episode 4 of 5 in our series titled, Is This Actually Yours? And today, we're going to talk about something that is necessary in the world of business and also necessary for your own IP. And that is your authority actually yours? And what do we mean by that? Well, I'm going to come right out and say it. Certifications suck. Ooh, yes, I said it. I don't believe in certifications. Now, Jess, I do believe in certifications to help build your knowledge, to help build and expand whatever it is. But here's what certifications do. Now, this isn't the point of the podcast, but I do want to say this right out in front. They start to build authority in you that isn't yours. So let's start there. What do you think about this?
Oh, no, I'm in agreement conceptually, because I have the background, as we've talked about in previous episodes, of education, where I was required to be certified across different grade levels, different subject areas. And I think this translates in the coaching world as well, is, you are not considered able to do the thing until you have the piece of paper that is a certificate.
Right.
In a lot of industries. And I think that is the wrong way to play, because if you're speaking from experience and expertise, the piece of paper means nothing.
Yeah, it's very, very true. And yet we all put so much emphasis on the piece of paper. Guess what we do sometimes with that piece of paper, Jess? We frame it. We frame it and we put it on our wall. Why? Because that was probably an expensive piece of paper. That's the way I look at it.
100%. I mean, some of those certifications are more than my master's degree that I did in 1 year accelerated program. So I paid for that, y'all. But it blows my mind how many people feel like they need that piece of paper to validate them.
That's right. Now, let's pause for a second here and make sure we are being clear to the listener. What we're saying, you should spend money in building and learning frameworking. Okay. You should do that. To build a business, you need to pay for framework, right? You've got to figure out a way to build the business that you want to build, and that is framework buying. That's great. When someone goes to buy or build a house, Jess, they go look at all of these blueprints that have probably already been laid out before, and they buy a blueprint, and then they go build their house. Same thing here is what we're talking about is your authority. Okay. We're talking about your authority. And what is your authority? Your authority is yesterday, right? Your authority is what you have already come through in, say it very simply, your problem solution cycle. And that is where you can actually have so much clarity without having to go get a sheet of paper and frame it up on your wall and say, I'm certified in this now. You were certified right before this.
Certifications, I believe, are a coach's way of trying to crush imposter syndrome. Because they don't feel like they have the authority in the coaching space, especially when they're first launching, but even, beyond that. And I think it's just such an incredible thing that when we can work with a coach, help them understand that imposter syndrome comes from the fact that they're trying to play in a space that isn't authentically theirs, then when they uncover that and get to the point of like authentic ownership, then the authority is there already. They have everything they need to successfully give somebody the framework of how they did something, they accomplished an outcome. And no number of papers on the wall or letters behind your name as a designation is the thing that gives you that credibility or authority. It is truly your experience in that space.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I don't want y'all to hear that we're picking on certifications. That's not what we're doing. Though here's what can happen in certification process. There was something that I used to go through called Coaching Skills Camp, right? And it was great. It was really, really good because it kind of taught how to coach, but it also gave content stuff on what to coach. And I never knew why when I walked away and left those things that I actually felt more insecure about coaching until we started to uncover this, because it wasn't my authority. It wasn't something that I had actually experienced, but I was now taught to use that and go share it with a client to make a point or to move them forward. And now as we uncovered this, what's that?
Oh, I just thought of an analogy, so I'm sorry. I thought
bring
you were
it.
done.
No, bring it. Bring the analogy that one.
Well, your description there reminds me of you walking into an ecosystem and you have experience in, let's say, plumbing. You have been a plumber all your life. You've done it really well. You know it inside and out. And you walk into a space and they're like, hey, we're going to teach you how to be a welder.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the toolkit that you need to be a successful welder.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, this feels uncomfortable because I know plumbing inside and out. I don't know welding. And now I'm expected to coach and be an authority on welding.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of where my head was of certification. People are asking for somebody else's toolbox and then trying to use their tools and their situation and their experience instead of what they already have.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to get at, is not that a certification is wrong. It's that the certification is not the thing that's going to make you the authority.
Right. I'll give another example. And again, I'm not throwing these people under the bus. It is just examples. In 2009, when I went through John Maxwell's initial founding member group certification process, right? I was a team leader inside of Keller Williams. I wanted to be more in the leadership space. So I actually went for my own education, but it was a quote unquote certification process, which meant then that we were able to teach his material. He's the authority in there, right? His material to whomever we wanted to. And I tried to be John, right? I tried to be John. It was like, as it relates to our topic here, is your authority actually yours? That content was John's content. John was the authority there. And yet I was trying to impersonate John in that space, i.e. perform. And it came off, I know it came off as I could feel it myself, just kind of icky or imposter syndrome, right? And that's what we're talking about here is you learned everything that you have in your toolbox right now. Yeah, I could pull from that stuff, but yet I had to experience and learn through it to then make it my own, to be able to share that value with people, to then identify that is my authority.
Well, I don't mean this negatively, but the way that I see a certification is it's really a participation trophy in somebody else's world. And typically certificates say, hey, you've completed this course. You've been exposed to this content.
Yep.
Good job. There's your participation trophy. And again, that's not the thing that gives you authority. Like, you showed up, you participated, you could have learned a ton of things. Like, you learned from John. You've been in John's world for years and you will continue to be in John's world. So it's not a negative on the certification of Maxwell coaching or Maxwell speaking or Maxwell leadership. It is talking about, please do not buy into a certification program thinking that is the catalyst for you to become an authority as a coach.
Okay.
That's what I feel like we're trying to say. And it just took us 8 minutes to put it in a sentence.
Almost 9. But at the end of the day, it's good because we wanted to create clarity there. So when you see I post on my YouTube that certification doesn't matter. Actually, I don't even remember what the name of that one was, but it did really well. It said, you don't need this certification, right? And this is what we're talking about, right? You already have been certified. Is that right? You've already been certified, right? And you just need to go expose where you've been certified, one, in your life. And then number 2, where do you have passions in that life certification to then go expose a process to go help people solve that same problem?
100%. So, if you're somebody that is newer to the coaching world and you're listening to this as one of the first episodes, please hear us and understand that we respect people who sell certifications, and there is value to be learned. Adam said it earlier in this episode. Somebody might be teaching a framework in their certification program, and that framework may wildly benefit you. Yes. So there's nothing wrong with going through it. It's just not going to be the thing that suddenly makes you credible. And nobody is buying your piece of paper on the wall. They're buying your experience and your expertise in the things that you've lived and the things that you've overcome. And that's what we're passionate about helping people uncover and then utilize to connect with their potential clients and future clients. Because we know that when you have your life certification, as Adam said, and then you find your passion space, you're going to be able to serve at a much higher level, and you will not feel imposter syndrome, or it will be crushed very quickly because of the fact that you're speaking from a place of lived and learned knowledge and experience.
Well, and you, Jess, with, it's not new anymore, but your big ideas made simple, right? That brand, that lane, that value that you provide there is from your experience, right? That is from your world of working with visionaries, of working in a space of listening to us knuckleheads that have all these grandiose ideas. And you're like, whoa, easy there, Tiger. Let's make this simple. And by the way, you're rubbing off on me.
I love it.
Yes.
It's going to be a movement.
I actually think I might be transitioning from a multiplier to a simplifier.
It's a better way to live, my friend.
Tell me about it. Yeah. But you are such a great example of that because you did, right? You're like, okay, I've experienced all of this. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to serve these people who have these big ideas and I'm going to help them make it super duper small. And you do an incredible job with that. Now, you didn't go get certified. You didn't go through a course. You didn't have to go buy anything. What you did have to buy is the life experiences. What you did have to buy and invest in was, gosh, banging your head up against a wall with maybe a visionaries, right? Or those types of things. Or creating something that wasn't even really yours. You just thought the marketplace needed, right? And you tell that story all the time. But your big ideas made simple is exactly what we're talking about. That's your authority.
Exactly. And the only thing I invested in was the DBA, doing business as name, once I finally got to the point of big ideas made simple, which I think was $7 to register it with the state, right? So that was the only piece of paper I went after with big ideas made simple. I'm actually wearing the shirt for people watching on YouTube or listening and not seeing me on YouTube. But I love that you brought that up. And again, not to make it about me, but it was that thing of, I tried to go get certified. I tried to go get and collect all of these things in a positional space and a industry space first when I stepped into coaching and met you, and built an entire brand that I thought I was excited about and passionate about, but it wasn't really aligned, and ended up scrapping it. And that's what you're talking about. And then I pivoted into what I am passionate about, and it makes wild sense for me. And I feel so confident talking about it in big rooms now with big people and charging a lot of money for it because I have the authority in the space of, I've worked with a whole lot of people, Adam being a great example of it, taking something complex and turning it into something simple so that it is scalable long term.
Yep, exactly. And here's the neat part about that. Let's go back to the title here. Is your authority yours? When you go out into the world and you have this false authority, right? We'll call it false authority. The people around you who know you don't know you as that authority. And it's going to take time to build depth. It's going to take time to build trust in that space of you saying, hey, I have authority in this now, because they've known you as something else, like your plumber and your welder example. If I'm Johnny Plumber and I have experience in that space, but yet I go to a welding school thinking I'm going to get a great certification, and I come out and I'm like, hey, I'm a plumber and a welder now. They're like, yeah, no, you're just a plumber, right? And it's like, yeah, and that's exactly what this is. And the neat part about it is, tooting our own horn here, you went through the blueprint and you solved this, right? You actually, as you wrote the blueprint, you created even more clarity for yourself. You're like, pause a second. What was it? Boss lady, boss? What was your
your boss coach, because boss was an acronym for building operations systems successfully.
which is
Talk about
clever,
nerdy,
right? But
y'all.
we say that's not clarity, right? And the neat part about that is you have that experience, and now you're in a space that is authentically yours, and you had to do that going to the blueprint, right? And that's the neat part.
100%.
That's the framework, right? That's the framework I'm talking about. You built your authority by following a framework.
I did. Well, and what's so crazy is when I met you, you tried to have a real coach certification.
No.
And we scrapped it when we realized that that wasn't in alignment with what you had as a vision for the company.
Right.
So that was where, my brand of making things simple came into play of like, hey, what's the vision? Okay, what's the clearest, simplest path to the outcome? Great. That is the blueprint and the membership and everything we built. And again, this is not a we're so awesome podcast. It's just sharing kind of behind the curtain.
Speak for yourself. I am very awesome. I'm
well,
kidding.
You are awesome. I mean, you're so awesome. I can't even think of the words to describe it right now. And I'm afraid if I use those words that I could come to mind, it might inflate the ego too much. So we don't want to go there.
Well, hold on.
But
Before
seriously,
I want to say this real quick. When I thought about having a certification, that was borrowed authority. Because I had thought that if someone was certified, and if I was the certifier, right? That people would look at me differently, right? I would have more authority in that space because I'd seen all these certifications. Like, I'm going to build my own certification. No.
Yeah, no. You truly thought that if you were the one putting the stamp on certified on people's papers with their names on them, that gave you automatically more authority. And
exactly.
that's the thing is like, pay attention. Because I find this a fascinating thing. When you go to events and you meet somebody new for the first time, pay attention to how they introduce themselves, because you will notice if people feel like they have authority or if they're borrowing it by the way that they choose to introduce themselves. So if you walk up to like Adam or myself, we would say, hey, I'm Jess, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, something very basic and simple, because we know we trust in what we've done. We have authority in our spaces. We're happy with what we've built. And we can speak to that with more questions, but we don't feel like we're forcing our authority on you. If somebody is struggling with imposter syndrome, they're going to lead with, hey, I am a Maxwell certified coach.
Nailed it.
I have this thing. And they're going to borrow authority from the organization that gave them the credibility that they were feeling like they needed. And when you start getting specific with your identity titles, it means you are more likely to be borrowing authority.
Yeah, that's great.
And that is such a weird thing to watch when you're in that space of, somebody starting with, hey, I'm a so-and-so's thing, because they don't feel confident in who they are.
Well, and the neat part about this, we can go even deeper, and it's really become something that I'm focusing on right now is when people come to us and they want to continue to expand their coaching journey, they want to follow our model and the framework, they're usually a high achiever. And what I'm starting to focus on now is high achievers that are in identity crisis. And let's look at what that really means is a lot of them are in this identity space, right? This crisis, I'll call it a crisis. And we see it all the time. We use the words imposter syndrome. It's because they haven't identified what is exactly theirs. Right. And we've talked about this almost ad nauseum, but again, they borrow it from yesterday's containers. Well, I was a team leader, or I was a professional tennis coach. And those are experience. That's what you did. It's not who you are. And that's the big difference. And that's what we're talking about right now is your authority is yours, right? What is that experience? Because that then establishes your authority. And I love how you said that, Jess, because again, that is a great way to tell who is using borrowed authority is when they say, yeah, I'm a certified XYZ coach. I can't tell you how many coaches I have had conversations with, whether they're intro calls or tell me more about the community, that say I'm ICF certified. Again, nothing wrong with that certification. I don't even know what that means. Quite frankly, I know what it means, but I don't it has no bearing on me thinking about that coach as whoever they are, but they lead with that. They lead with it.
The credential doesn't automatically make you want to work with them, and it doesn't automatically generate trust, which is what they believe it is doing. And the trust comes from hearing that you have lived the experience that I am currently going through, and that you have solved the problem I currently have, and that you have a clear process or framework to overcome said problem in a quick and efficient and clean and simple way.
Yep.
That's all people are looking for. They are not looking for letters. ICF is 3, right? It doesn't matter. Maxwell Leadership, that's 2. But it doesn't matter what the organization is people don't care about your credentials. Like, and I say that they cared about it in the education system because they felt like you had to pass the content tests to prove you knew the content enough to teach it to the kids. But the thing is even in education, that didn't prove that I was a quality teacher in any capacity. Like, my math certification just proved that I knew how to do math. My history just proved that I knew the basics of history. And so that's what blows my mind is any certification out there is a small container of one specific thing, and it is not the sum of who you are. And so leading with that small specific thing is proof that you don't believe in yourself, to me. And that's I don't say that to negate any certification program. Heck, I've thought about buying into Maxwell's a number of times because I haven't gone through it because I wanted to experience what the frameworks were inside of it to see if it could make me a better coach. But I'm not going to lead with that if I ever go through it. And that, to me, is the big differentiator for us here.
Now, let's go to the pro of that. It will help you become a better coach because it's great leadership material, right? Again, I don't know what ICF certification brings you, but it could make you a better coach because of whatever education they're bringing you from that, right? So that's why that stuff is good, but it's not who you are. It's not the authority that you need to establish out to the world that says, I've experienced this. I can solve this for you in a compression of time. Here you go.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I find this even further interesting when people decide to join a dependent coaching model for the same reason, is they believe the authority is coming from the entity that they are attaching themselves to. When in reality, it has nothing to do with it because that brand, that identity is borrowed authority as well. And the only thing that the client cares about is the results that you're going to get them as their coach, which is not coming from the entity you're aligned with. It's coming from you.
Yeah. Well, you talk about that in our challenge. I think we talked about that in the challenge, right? The 4-legged stool. Yeah.
We talked about the pillars, the 4 P's in our challenge. Yeah.
Wait a minute. What was the drawing? Is the drawing a pedestal? Is it a stool?
Yes,
what is it?
The pedestal. Yeah, the 4 P's is the pedestal.
Yep. So think about that. And that's what Jess is talking about is this is a different podcast, which we've already talked about. But again, when you understand your authority, you understand your payoff. And when you understand your payoff, that's the first thing that you should talk about is I help fill in the blank. But what we do is we actually start to talk about ourselves. We start to talk about the parts and the pieces and not the payoff. But if you don't know who you are and if you don't know what your authority is and you're borrowing someone else's authority, you're going to go right into talking about yourself. They don't care.
Right.
They don't.
Well, here's the thing. And this is related to in-person conversations. This is related to copy on an email newsletter or a web page. And this is also in relation to any sort of like social media you're putting out there. Nobody cares about you. They care about what's in it for them. And so when you can flip the language and focus instead of like looking at yourself in a mirror, but looking through a window and saying, what can I put out into the world that's going to benefit others that I have lived experience through? It completely changes everything. And so Adam talking about, it's our offer pillar. And typically if you said, hey, I do this thing, I have this result, this outcome, this payoff. If you can clearly name that, that automatically tells the person listening what's in it for them.
That's right.
But if you don't have clarity on that, then you typically lead with your credentials, your experiences, as Adam was saying, and then you lean heavily on the parts or the pieces, the elements. Oh, you get this many calls, this many hours, this much stuff, because you don't have clarity on that outcome and that payoff and what's in it for them.
Yeah.
But nobody cares about you. They care about themselves and how you can serve them.
Well,
yeah. I was just going to say authority comes through your ability to articulate that.
Well, a good way to gauge that, if you want to gauge your social media, okay, in whatever channel, don't care what channel, on that, right? If you're posting content and you want to know if it is landing with, whether it's the right avatar or landing with people, they will say, what, Jess? That's me. Right? When you create a piece of content, they will reply, whether DM or a comment, they'll say, wow, you're talking to me.
Well, and the best part about it is when you do it authentically, you share it authentically, it lands. Because I'm sitting here laughing. I was just having a conversation with somebody. My best performing content right now is not the curated, pretty stuff. It is me sweatily yelling at squirrels in my backyard, which is my entertainment side of things and showing a little bit of my quirkiness. And then my best performing business related content is me sitting in a car with a ball cap, babbling about what I had just thought of during the drive to my son's school before I walked in to pick him up. And so there was no makeup, there was no outfit, there was no lighting, there was nothing but me in the car with a selfie and, 90 seconds of babbling. Yeah. And yet that's my best performing content. And it's because I presented the idea from the perspective of, hey, I had this idea and I think it will help you and I'm sharing this with you. So please do with it what you will. I've had so many DMs, Adam, it's nuts. And so I'm just like, oh, it's not about me, and my authority comes from serving others. And when you can get that through your thick little, ego-ridden skull, you're going to feel wildly different about the way that you connect with people. And it'll make growing your business that much easier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some with mine with the identity crisis part 1. Cry. This was me still working through it. Yep, that's me. Facts. Big time facts, truth, and timely for me. This is good. Preach it. This is me. That's what we want to see, is when you are stepping into your own authority, sharing that out to the world to help people solve that problem. That's how they reply. That's how they comment. That's how they engage. Okay. Love it, love it, love it. So, land the plane, Jess. Land this plane. This was a good plane. I don't want to jump out of this plane. Let's land. Did you say
end their pain or land the plane?
Good one. Yeah. For those that have stuck with us, let's end their pain, because those are the people who probably got a bunch of certificates behind them and saying, oh my gosh, I just wasted $100,000 when I should have just invested with Jess and Adam.
Well, we would hope that they would consider doing that in the future. And you can find all about, our challenge and that pillar we were talking about and our membership and everything we're doing over at ilovecoachingco.com. There's free assessments there if you want to look at your business and figure out where your issues are, all that kind of stuff. But truly, again, this was a podcast to really help you think about what you're starting with and where you're starting from, and the fact that you don't have to perform to gain authority. And we hope that landed for you if you stuck it out with us, and come find us if we can help you with more.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. So this was episode 4 of 5. We have one more after this, and it is this actually yours? I'm not going to tell you what the title is going to be. However, it's going to be a good one. Dun, dun,
we're going to wrap up all of it in a nice, neat bow in the last one. That's what the goal is there. But we appreciate you sticking it out with us. Yes. We love doing these series. And if there is something in the coaching space that you want to hear us talk around and have our perspectives on, let one of us know, because we are always trying to help position ourselves in such a way that we're more accessible for people. And there is not a barrier to entry like gaining a certificate.
That's right. Yep. Okay. We'll see you guys next time. See you. Bye.
Bye.